Chapter 14. Timber, Sticks, and String. Nate had often played among oak and pine logs piled on the beach. Now he and the skipper and Seabird watched oxen dragging these well-seasoned logs to a shipyard. Lumber, rope, chains, and tools littered the wharves. A lazy tide licked at mossy piling, all lumpy with barnacles. Gulls squawked louder than the racket of axes and saws. They circled above, puzzled by the boy and his hovering bird. Nate waved to them, mimicking their cries. The skipper brought the boys' attention back to the logs, now becoming square timbers. Day by day, a huge frame of these timbers grew on the beach. It resembled a whale's skeleton stretched on its back, Nate thought. It, too, had a spine holding everything together, the keel. It, too, had bare ribs curving upward. Men pegged timbers against the ribs like slabs of blubber, as the skipper said. Piece by piece, the wooden walls arose, flaring out and up in graceful curves. Then one day, a ship's copper-sheathed hull slid down the ways. To music and cheers it splashed in foam, rocked like a cradle, and floated on the bay. Nate saw more logs, long and tapering, hauled to the wharf where the bare hull was moored. These became 3 masts like jointed trees. Tarred shrouds and ratlines, so taut they looked like iron ladders, braced the masts, while masts, yards, spars, and booms were laced together with cat's cradles of hawsers and lines. "Look, Seabird, at the blocks in the rigging," said the boy, "like round beetles caught in spider webs. Soon they'll dress her in new sails." One morning a man and a boy with an ivory bird stood on a ship moving away from the vanishing shore. Sun and sail shadow swept the rolling decks. Wavelets slapped the racing hull and slid away whispering. "Listen, Dad," cried the boy. "The waves say, 'Clipper, clipper, ship.' And Seabird's dancing." "Aye," laughed the man, "she's happy. I once promised her, back in the far South Seas, a clipper ship, to be skippered by both of us. In those days, Nate, you were an undiscovered island, scarcely even a dream. Seabird and I couldn't guess that you'd be with us, all of 10 years old, on our clipper's first voyage." Chapter 15. How to Stop a Full-Rigged Ship. Nate felt that he practically owned the ship. Hadn't he romped on her timbers when they were nothing but logs? Hadn't he climbed her masts as they grew? Wasn't her captain his father? The crew did not seem aware of Nate's importance. They were too busy with the winds of this untried clipper to notice him. Nate felt slighted until he overheard, "Lad's a spittin' image of Captain Ezra. He'll make a sailor some day." What did the man mean, some day? He'd show 'em he was a sailor already. Luckily, he left Seabird behind as he streaked for the shrouds. Gasping for breath, He reached the main masthead and struck a pose. Were they looking? Did they see him now? Back at the wharf he had stood at this same masthead. But then the ship was solidly moored on water neatly flat. Now the world was leaping with blue-green hills and hollows. Ha-woo-whoa-whoa! But he was high. He was a floppy mop on a waving too-long handle. For the first time in his 10 years, Nate Brown felt giddy. A bosun appeared at his ankles. "Come down, you wharf rat! Want to scare us to death? Give me your hand, or must I carry ye? Easy now, child." The word child blew Nate's dizziness all away. He played easy to handle until they reached the main yard. With the bosun bellowing after, he ran the yard as he would a log on the ground. He reached its tapered end. The bosun's snarl crept nearer. As the ship heeled, the men dropped to hug the spar. But Nate dived. 50 feet down he disappeared in a frothy wave. He bobbed up, dazed and spluttering, yet he was not afraid. Nate had always considered the Atlantic Ocean as his own pool to be played in. But rescuing him meant stopping a huge clipper under full sail and lowering boats. That took time. It also took many men for the job and made things very unpleasant. Nate found all this out that evening in his father's cabin. Even the Seabird seemed to heel away from him in disgust. Nathaniel Brown was a most unhappy boy. Chapter 16. Shifting Shadows. Thus Nathaniel Brown, son of the famous Ezra, became a sea-scummed cabin boy. He was called colorful names while, green with seasickness, he cleaned out greasy kettles. Pouting, he planted ocean furrows to potato peelings. He scrubbed and polished, but he was sulky about it. And he sank to sleep with common sailors in the forecastle. Even in the eyes of the hovering Seabird, he found no pity. "There are things to learn on a ship besides rope climbing," said his father, "and you'll learn 'em as I did." Nathaniel Brown was learning. The new clipper was easy to handle, and she had a well-drilled crew. At "Furl all sail!" scores of men drifted up through the rigging like flights of sparrows. Then mammoth white sheets melted up and away till the bare yards held only a thickness like clinging snow. At the call for full sail, canvas fluttered down again, and the clipper became a swift cloud scudding over the sea. Ezra thought often how different this was from the old days. The whalers' bows, blunt as a maul, had battered slowly through the rolling logs of waves. But the clipper's bows were tapered and slim as an axe blade. When her prow sliced a roller, it split wide open, and she slipped through the gap. Week after sunny week, the clipper soared south, her wide wings filled with wind. Then came tropic downpours, waterspouts, fitful breezes, and blistering sun. She slowed, slapping her canvas, and stopped dead. In the doldrums, a region along the equator, her sails hung limp. "The fastest sailor," said Ezra to Nate, "is as helpless as a floating chip in a calm. For days she may lie like a carved model set on a pane of glass. Officers nigh go crazy finding work for idle hands." The bosun, at least, was having troubles. "I said paint that bulwark," he snarled. "But I painted it just last week," cried a sailor. "Well, paint it again. And you there, go peck iron rust off the anchor chains. I'll keep ye all busy if I wreck this tub and rebuild her upside down." And as he saw Nate slicing potatoes, he growled to himself, "That lad I'd like to toss bang into the sea, to pluck barnacles off from the keel with his dainty bare hands." Chapter 17. Lines, Winds, and Waves. On the day the clipper reached the equator, Captain Ezra suddenly dashed to the side. "King Neptune!" he cried. "Welcome aboard!" A man slopped over the rail in wet sacking rope, locks, and whiskers. Tilting his tin-pan crown and waving a fish spear, he bawled, "Any lovers here who hain't crossed the line?" One helper hugged a wooden razor. A silent man in a seaweed mask whirled a shaving brush above a tub of tar. With a dozen lubbers, Nate was led to a chalk line on deck. On this equator, his jaws were tarred and shaved, and he was soused in seawater. He had crossed the line. He capered with the others. He also bumped blindly into the man leaning over his tub of tar. The crew roared with laughter. The man crawled from the tub, scooping gooey blackness from mouth and eyes. "That wharf rat! Done it a purpose! Showing off again!" he sputtered. The bosun would never believe it was accidental. South of the line came more doldrums, then steady winds, then roaring gales, and then the horn. Ezra called his son aft. "Nate," he said, "your berth is in my cabin while we turn the corner of South America. I don't want you swimming off in these seas. Keep clear of wind and working sailors. As to questions, ask Seabird. She's been here before." Gone now was the clipper's gay trick of slicing waves. Water mountains crashed down upon her. Sails split with a roar. Spars snapped and carried away. Day after night after day the ship seemed haunted and terror-stricken, while half-dead seamen fought for her life with sticks, string, and frozen cloth against the shrieking sky. The bosun seemed to be everywhere at once, relishing danger. He grinned in the very teeth of the howling gales. One day he knocked a sick sailor downstairs with one blow. "Don't nobody try to play sick with me," he bawled, still grinning. A weary mate shook his head when he heard about it. "Bosun takes fire too easy. But so far nobody's gone overboard. If this clipper's good luck can last."